Want to grow on TikTok? Join our agency for support with expert mentoring, stream protection, and audience growth. It's time to level up. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description to join today.
Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out with the dapper Dev Sahni. I'm doing the introductions because Triber isn't here to kind of pass the baton on to you, so I get to do it. How you doing, Dev?
I'm good. How are you, mate? Good to see you.
Yeah, not too bad. All that for speaking to you, Dev, and it was a interesting press conference, spicy between the two. You didn't have to do much of any kind of putting anything to both of them because these both were ready to go from the off. Before we get to them, though, let's talk about Charlie Edwards, who is opposite man in the corner. Andrew Kane wasn't here today, but Charlie's very much ready to get the victory on March 15th.
It's a great fight, isn't it? Yeah, shame Andrew Kane wasn't here today, but I'd imagine they will be seeing each other very, very soon. Brilliant fight. I can't believe that. I've been asking for this fight. I've been interviewing Andrew Kane after his fight, saying what would happen if that was Charlie Edwards in there, and he's been saying I'd smash him to bits. I didn't necessarily expect that Charlie Edwards would actually be the next fight. It is. It's tremendous. It's got the British and Commonwealth on the line. I think there's a feeling that there are going to be more titles added to the fight. It's a fight that deserves them, and. Yeah, Charlie Edwards, as you expect, speaks well from both the Edwards brothers. That's what you expect. So he says he's kryptonite for Andrew Kane. I can't wait to find out if he is, because Andrew Kane, can I swear on your channel? I try not to. He's a fucking nutcase, right? And he's going to stick it right on him, and he's going to try and take his head off. But it's not just about that. He's also a very good boxer. He's got a bit of history with the Edwards brothers, actually. He boxed Sonny in the ABA youth finals 10 years ago. And Sonny Edwards won, but there was a feeling from within the building that maybe he didn't win. And that's Andrew Kane feels a bit aggrieved about that. So I would have brought that up today. I would have said, one's retired, you're going to send the other one off into retirement, all of that sort of shit, just to stir it up a little bit. But it's a great fight, isn't it, that?
Brad Strand, versus Balluta. Should have had a sip of the water beforehand. Balluta always in tough, looking to upset the fighters coming up on the rise there. Good fight between the two of them. How close do you think it is?
I think it's very close. I think it's sink or swim for Brad Strand. I actually put that out as a tweet, and I did that on my Instagram story, tagged the fighters in. Brad Strand just straight away replied to me, and he just said, swim. So he intends on swimming against Balluta, and it's sometimes fights like this are seen as a measuring stick fight, but he's just not a measuring stick Balluta because he actually wins. He beat Andrew Kane, he beat Brad Foster, he gave Dennis McCann hell in their first fight, which was a draw. Dennis McCann then pulled away, showed his class in the rematch, career best performance. But he's just mate, if he'd have sat up here today, if they'd have been up here, Balluta, I think Brad Strand's in Australia at the moment, that's why he's not here. Balluta would sit up here and he has wins over TJ Doheny and Andrew Kane. He's a bad man. So respect to Brad Strand for stepping up and saying, yeah, I can beat Balluta. Really, really excited about that fight.
Appreciate you probably back this back instantly, but can you say anything else that's going to be added to the card in terms of fights that are yet to be announced?
I know that. What have they announced? I feel like they've announced a lot of A-sides. Jack Turner, he's on there. Because the press has started late, he had to go, unfortunately. But Jack Turner will be on. Don't know who he's going to be against. Yadir Herrera, I think he's in a title fight. He's unbelievable, by the way, Herrera. Have you seen him, by the way? He just comes in like a straight jacket to the ring and all crazy stuff like that. I'm trying to think who else. Not sure, but it's a brilliant Liverpool show. World Championship Boxing, spearheaded by Nick Ball.
Let's get to Nick Ball versus Doheny. Look, this all stemmed off of the Seconds Out interviews, I guess, with Nick Ball. I think I might even did that interview. But yeah, look, he had his comments to say about the fight between Doheny and Inoue, and now it's stemmed and born into a fight between the two of them. Doheny, the experienced type of fight coming off the back of against pound for pound great in the form of Inoue, but Nick Ball has been rising into those challenges. Good fight between the two of them. What do you anticipate between the two on March 15th?
Look, he's only been stopped, TJ Doheny, by a pound for pound great in Inoue, and the manner in which that fight ended is a bit what Nick Ball then brought up. Well, I brought it up because Nick Ball had mentioned it. But it's not like he was just completely like beaten up and on the floor and unconscious in that fight, right? So he's a good fighter. He's a former world champion, and you can tell from him up there the ambition. He wants to come over here, become a 2-weight world champion. I love that fire from him. I love that someone's actually sticking it on Nick Ball at a press conference. He could have started off by being, I'm happy to be here, I'm towards the end of my career, I'm glad to get a world title shot. No, he's calling Nick Ball a dickhead, and he's saying he's gonna feel his punches in there. Love that. I mean, Nick Ball, form of his life right now. Did he take too many against Ronnie Rios? Was it a sort of fight that TJ Doheny can look at and gain heart from? Can he think, well, if I land my bombs, they call me power? Can he look at that and think, well, I'll chin the fella? I don't know. He sounds very confident. I think it's a much better fight there than what people actually think. And Nick Ball's going to need to be at his very, very best, because in his fight with Ronnie Rios, that was his homecoming in front of the Liverpool crowd, and he admits it got to him. He's normally so focused, so zoned in, those ring walks, so he only looks straight. He found himself high-fiving people on the way to the ring. He got a big Liverpool Echo roar, plenty in there. There was no echo in the Echo Arena, by the way. And it will be even better this time. So, will it get to him? I don't know. There's also, I was speaking to Stephen Smith earlier about the Kane-Edwards fight, just generally about boxers fighting at home. There is an added pressure, an added expectation. If you start swinging and missing in front of a Liverpool crowd here, you feel it. You feel that pressure more and more. Could Nick Ball become frustrated against Doheny? Kane against Edwards, could he get frustrated? I just think it's a brilliant night of boxing. I can't wait to find out. Genuinely, so hyped, particularly about Kane against Edwards.
The analogy isn't quite on point, but I think it was you who made a tweet or a post on social media about Dubois and the way he walked into his fights against Usyk and then against Joshua. Is that what you're going to be looking at when Nick Ball makes his entrance, as to how he approaches it, and if that focus, that flick has been switched for the fight?
100%. Like, say you have to ring walk. Say something like that happens. I'm sure you do very well, right? But if you're walking through and someone's calling out your name, Ames, I listened to you on the boxing podcast back in the day, Boxing Nut House. Ames, slap my hand. You're going to do it. You're not going to ignore them, are you? That's the situation Nick Ball found him in, and Andrew Kane will as well. So I look out for things like that. The Dubois-Joshua ring walk comparison thing was crazy, because I remember in the ring walk against Usyk, that wasn't Daniel Dubois. He was like dancing, getting all into it, looking back for his dad. Oh, you're right, yeah. Whereas against AJ, he was just like, I'm going to go in and just chin Anthony Joshua, and he did it.
That's never happened to me. Actually, it's happened to me once where I've been recognised off the back of a boxing asylum. It was a fellow by the name of Jason Chukwu, who's doing...
That's a name often brought up on said podcast. Yeah. Look, I used to listen to that podcast like crazy every week. I don't really listen to too many now, but I was a big asylum nut house fan. Big.
Same here as well too. So let's get to the burning question here. The prospect of Nick Ball, if he comes through the fight with Doheny against Inoue, the likes of. What do you think to that?
I think it's a brilliant fight, isn't it? I think there is a measuring stick kind of feel to it almost. Not that TJ Doheny would agree with any of that, but if he goes in there and does a better job than Inoue did, then it's like a bit of a pound my chest and say, hey, I did what you couldn't do, I did it quicker, etc., all of that stuff. I think it's one of the best fights you can make in world boxing. I'd love to see that. If he steps up to featherweight, he could get taken out by a wrecking ball. I think it's a brilliant fight, and I'd love to see it. But TJ Doheny is serious on March 15th. We might have to put all of those plans to bed.
Dave, I've got a couple more questions for you, but let me just change the battery here on this camera before it goes. 1 second. Who's aside, back with Queensbury's Dev Sahni. We'd move on to a couple of other boxing topics. First of all, look, we're racing now towards Usyk versus Fury 2. I just wanted to pick up something from you. Chisora did a scrum off the back of his fight with Ottawa, and he was asked about the fight between Usyk and Fury. He kind of worried and questioned whether the sparring partners of Tyson Fury were giving him the correct work, and they felt that maybe he might be in awe of Fury, and that might mean that they won't give him the correct work heading into the rematch with Tyson Fury. What do you think of the prospect that Fury's camp might be again sort of hampered by, first time it was the injury, the cut, and second time maybe that he might be getting the correct work ahead of the fight with Usyk, who Usyk in turn is such a meticulous, at least we're led to believe, planner in his camps for fights.
So the only sparring partner that I know on a kind of personal-ish basis is Moses Itauma. Okay. And one thing I can tell you is that he's not in awe of anybody. And I've spoken to him before about, when he spars these people, he's going out there to not be a sparring partner. He's going out there to be himself. If you've got Moses Itauma, who is going to be a world heavyweight champion in your camp, and by the way, Moses has been sparring Joe Joyce when he was in a bloody school uniform and stuff like that. That's not someone who's going to be in awe. I don't know about the other fellas, but Tyson seems in a good place. And with regards to this fight, I was watching it back last night. I only got to watch the first 7 rounds, incidentally. So I was just thinking, he's pissing this. This is brilliant. Like I had to do something else, but I watched those first few rounds, 7 rounds, and I thought it's pretty unbelievable. Like, there's been a lot of talk about, I've said this before, but people are getting so caught up in what happened in round 9, they're forgetting the rounds that preceded that, especially 1 to 7. He was just having a laugh in there at times. But hey, look, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Can Fury get fitter? I think so. Can Fury stop showboating? I think so. Can Usyk get better? I don't know.
It's simple as just the showboating, and that's
this will be a question that I pose to him. Is this just literally a case of you not showboating? I don't think it is. I think he'll need to be fitter as well. I think that's one of the things, to just be fitter.
Actually, Dev, just quickly, I'll ask you, I assume you'll have a slot with Fury in the fight week to ask questions. What are you going to ask him?
Can I'll just get some questions off you? No, but I'm curious about the fitness thing, right? Because he definitely wasn't able to. He's brilliantly playing down, perhaps not having the ideal camp. He's giving Usyk his full credit, and I love that and I respect that, right? But could he have had a better camp? Could he have been better prepared? I just reckon the answer's yes. And you're hearing things from Andy Lee talking about it as well, how they were worried about the cut opening up, which means not as much sparring or careful sparring. I just think he can be fitter. And if he can be fitter, then he can deal with the kind of pressure of Usyk a bit better. And by the way, I think he dealt with it pretty well in the first fight. It was probably more pressure than he's had before. But he was all right. He won the last round. After going through hell in the 9th round, on all judges' scorecards, he won the final round of the fight against Oleksandr Usyk. So is it just about not showboating a bit, being well focused, understanding that this guy does actually get better as the fight goes on? I think it's a bit of that, and just being fitter.
You mentioned there about Moses Itauma and him climbing through the ranks and the sparring that he's been doing. He's now got Dempsey McKean in his way, and it seems like very much on the cusp of world level here, off the back of where McKean's been in terms of his last few fights and things. Do you feel like Itauma look off the back of a win against McKean as he plans to do, and maybe a couple more fights he's ready for a big world title challenge?
This is going to be the one where we find out, really, because if he just goes in there and deals with Dempsey McKean and knocks him out, this is a bit of a measuring stick because of the Hrgovic thing. Hrgovic stopped him in the last round, but it just so happens once again that this measuring stick is very, very ambitious, has his own plans of becoming a world champion, has only lost to the best out there. It's a tough one. So if he beats him, fantastic. If he does it in style, even better. If he does it like in the first half of the fight, that's like, whoa, what have you just done? And that's what you want from a guy who we're saying is going to become a heavyweight champion very soon. You want to see things that are abnormal, and him dealing with Dempsey McKean would be abnormal. And you'd start to go, who actually beats him then? You start looking around, okay, he could probably beat him. Probably beat him. He could probably beat a lot of heavyweights right now. It's just about the experience as well. Is he going to get rounds out of Dempsey McKean? He probably needs some. I don't know. It's fascinating to watch this story.
Let's see if he does it in style. Dev, you're in style. I'll leave you to the style of pro boxing fans. John Nagif as well as been waiting patiently. Thanks for speaking to Seconds Out. I've got to go answer that alarm bell as well, which has been doing my head in during this interview. But appreciate it, Dev.
See you later, mate.